Good morning, my brothers and sisters. Welcome to episode 4 of Be With Me in the book of James. And I'm going to title today, Preventing Killers from Being Conceived. Preventing Killers from Being Conceived. And I'm going to get the image today from the premise of the Terminator movie. So the Terminator movies, stay with me here. Imagine a time in the future, and it's far, far in the future, where there's a battle against two warring factions. And it's so far in the future that time travel is possible. And so what one of the warring faction does is say, hey, why are we fighting this battle with mature soldiers against the other side? I got an idea. Let's go back to the past. Let's go backwards. And let's go prevent the guy who's fighting against us. Let's prevent him from even being conceived. So that's what the Terminator is he comes back and tries to terminate his enemy. So here's the deal. That's what the book of James is going to talk about in today's passage. So listen to this. This is from James chapter 1, verse 13 we're going to start with. Let no one say when he is tempted, I am being tempted by God. For God cannot be tempted with evil, and he himself tempts no one. So the point with that is, let's not misaccuse God. Let's be careful with our view of God. Let's ask the question about who God is. And up in verse 5, he already tells us, we have a God that listens. We have a God that gives. We have a God that gives generously. And let's not throw God under the bus here. We're going to throw ourselves under the bus by our temptation. So then here he goes and explains that. So don't blame God, for God cannot be tempted with evil, and he himself tempts no one. Verse 14, but each person is tempted when he is lured and enticed by his own desire. Then desire, when it is conceived, gives birth to sin, and when sin is fully grown, it brings forth death. So let's talk about anatomy here and anatomical principles. So here's what happens is, when do you want to fight the war? Do you want to fight the war when it's fully mature, or do you want to fight the war even before conception? And that's the idea here. So when desire is conceived, is almost too late. You want to keep desire separate from our acquiescence to the desire, which is the yes. So think about this anatomically. What's conception? Conception is when you have two cells and you put those two cells together. So each cell individually, nothing's going to happen. Nothing's going to go forward. But if you took two of these, sort of appropriate cells together, they blend in together, and then one cell becomes two cells becomes 4, becomes 8, 16, 32, 64, 128, 256, et cetera, and you get this exponential growth. And after you get an exponential growth into the trillions, then you give birth to sin. And when sin is grown, so it's like a baby being born, trillions of cells, and then that baby matures and learns and practices, and the idea with that is it wants to kill you. So these things, these desires, these bad desires, want to kill you. It brings forth death. So if we don't prevent certain things from coming together, one cell becomes 2, becomes a trillion, then it gives birth, then it matures, and then it runs havoc and goes and tries to kill you. So don't be deceived. Your anger is a killer, or your view of God could be a killer, or your jealousy could be a killer, or your money life can be a killer, or your purity life can be a killer. So remember, we went back to the in the book of Galatians, we said, everybody wants the fruits of the Spirit. Well, just before that, it talks about these 4 categories of things that we want to, in the context of this passage, we want to keep from being mature and killing us. That is, we can miss zipper with sexual immorality or impurity or sensuality, or we can miss worship by idolatry or sorcery. And then there's all kinds of them about misrelationship, enmity, strife, fits of anger, rivalry, dissension, divisions, and misconduct, drunkenness and orgy. So there's all kinds of things that we as Christians and James followers here who are speaking in wisdom, that we want to prevent these things. When do we want to nip them in the bud? When they're trying to kill us? Or just as they're born in a trillion cells? Or do we want to prevent them from coming together? So the passage, each person is tempted when he's lured and enticed by his own desire. And the two cells that are coming together are your desire and our yes to the desire. Those are the two cells. When those things come together and are conceived, then just 5 seconds later, then you give birth to sin. It matures when it's fully grown and it brings forth death. Don't be deceived, he says. So when do we want to prevent these things from happening? The passage is asking us to be a terminator. That is, prevent the desire, the lure, the enticement from coming together with our yes. Those are the two cells that we're trying to prevent conception of. We're fighting the battle before those things are conceived. Now, many of us have already lost certain aspects of the battles. And there's a remedy for those two. This passage doesn't talk about it, but that's forgiveness and repentance for battles that we've lost. That is where we let desire and our yes and our acquiescence come together, be conceived, grow up, mature, and now we're kind of dealing with the consequences of that. That's called forgiveness. That's called repentance. But for today's passage, the idea is when we are tempted to have a quick no, a prevention from the desire, which always looks good, by the way, and are saying yes to it, let's not let those things come together. So that is how we prevent the killers, things that want to bring forth death. That's how we prevent the killers from being conceived. So I pray for your desire contraception today. That is, prevent the killer from even being conceived, just like in the Terminator movies. Thanks for listening.